If you've seen my X Beyond the Frontier review, then you might remember me mentioning my big brother's first computer. Said first computer was not the most powerful graphics machine, and it didn't need to be, because my brother first and foremost used his computer for making music. However, he did game on it from time to time. I already talked about my memories of him playing X Beyond the Frontier on it, but there were other games too. Age of Empires, Sheep, Counter-Strike Condition Zero, and the reason for this video, Star Trek Voyager Elite Force. Now, Elite Force was developed by Raven Soft and published by Activision and was then released in 2000, meaning during the 6th season of Star Trek Voyager. But thanks to that show's episodic reset button, not a lot of continuity flowed into it. It's a first-person shooter with not a lot of depth to its gameplay, but it's quite show-accurate, and when it comes to voice acting, it's not bad, and the used assets and the fan service do help too. I remember not being very good at the game whenever my brother let me play it, but then again, I didn't get to play that many video games in the first place because my mum, and to a lesser extent dad, thought that video games made you stupid. So no consoles were allowed. Computers were a different topic, as you could use them for all types of other non-gaming related things, like writing and video editing, making music, or watching DVDs. No joke, I think that up until 2008 we didn't have a DVD player, if I remember correctly. If we wanted to watch a DVD, it was either on my dad's laptop or my brother's tower PC. So yeah, I sucked ass at the game and my brother was okay-ish at it. Honestly, the shallowness of the game didn't even bother us too much. We were both Trekkies, thanks to an uncle of ours, and just liked to have a neat, uncomplicated Star Trek game. But enough about all that background stuff. What is Star Trek Voyager Elite Force about? Well, if you recall, Star Trek Voyager was all about the spaceship known as Voyager being stranded in an undiscovered part of the galaxy, the Delta Quadrant, and all that the crew of the Voyager want to do now is get back home. In the game, they are still stranded, but then they become extra stranded because of some random probe that teleports them into a space junkyard they are unable to get out of. Some sort of field is keeping them in, and also the ship is kind of fucked up. You are not in the actual TV show, as you are Alexander or Alexandria Monroe. Part of the Hazard Team, a special military-type team trained to defend Voyager from threats that the normal internal ship security cannot take care of. The very first mission you find yourself on is actually just a training unit, taking place on the holodeck. You have to try and rescue your teammates inside a Borg cube. The Borg, if you recall, are a hive mind that assimilate individuals of all sorts of species into their collective, yet bizarrely enough they mostly look like humans. This is where the game starts off with something sort of clever and then immediately takes it away again. The Borg drones can adjust to phaser fire after a few shots, so you have to be sort of clever with how you take out as many drones as possible without directly shooting them. That is, until you get the iMod. Nope, that's not an immensely overpriced Apple product, but an invention of 7 of 9, Voyager's needlessly skin-tight dressed de-assimilated Borg drone. The iMod, or Infinity Modulator, just keeps modulating without the Borg ever getting the chance of adjusting to its fire. Which is kind of cool, but it does take away from the Borg's threat. If you are playing on normal difficulty, you also won't run out of ammunition for the iMod anytime soon. But what would your alternative weapons of choice be besides the iMod? At this point in the game, we got a phaser, which has infinite ammo, but also has a cooldown period after excessive use. It fires a straight beam of energy and a secondary fire, a stronger beam of energy that vaporizes enemies, but also overheats faster. You can also use the phaser to remove damaged grates or get rid of other debris. Then we got the phaser rifle, which fires in energy bursts. You need to recharge it manually at specific stations if you run out of ammo. Just like the phaser rifle also got a stronger but more resource-intensive secondary fire. Every weapon in the game has 2 modes of fire. So, after making your way through the simulation and maybe or maybe not saving your colleagues, you will, thanks to the magic of cutscenes, screw up by blowing the simulated Borg cube to kingdom come. After the training program ends due to your rash decision making, you get scolded by Tuvok, the Vulcan bridge officer of this ship. Then you follow him, for whatever reason, to the bridge, where we encounter the previously mentioned probe that attacks Voyager. Voyager shoots back, and the shockwave from the explosion teleports Voyager into an unknown part of the Delta Quadrant, where we now need to repair the ship. And now we get to witness the iconic opening sequence of Voyager with its iconic opening theme. That someone ordered off Timo. What the shit is this? The only explanation that I can think of is that they wanted to save some money and didn't clear the soundtrack rights. It's not the end of the world or anything, but come on. That's not Star Trek Voyager, that's Asteroid Trail Adventurer. Alright. After that semi-letdown, we get to be the hero by not shooting something, but by going to the engine room. We have some trouble with the warp core, and since we're already in our combat pyjamas, we get to keep said warp core from breaking. Ah yes, the warp core, Star Trek's answer to the high energy demands of space. It's an antimatter reactor which uses mind-bendingly complex chemical processes to create astronomical amounts of heat to boil water? Ah, come on, it's always just boiling water. Okay, to be fair, I don't remember what the warp core actually does to get energy. The point is that it should not under any circumstances explode. So, we go down to the engine room and stop the warp core from breaking. On your way, you gotta do the occasional catastrophe prevention, like activating a force field after a certain crew member has made it through. Or pumping out acid from some random storage room. Warp core breach averted. Hey now, don't relax just yet. There's scavengers boarding the ship, and you got to fend them off. You realize quickly that they are A, whole bunch of different species, and B, armed with a new weapon, the scavenger gun. Primary fire fires a machine gun style volley of energy projectiles, and secondary fire fires one big and far more effective projectile. This is also where we get to talk about ammunition. As I explained, the phaser doesn't need any ammunition, and the phaser rifle does. It can be charged with these blue stations. Meanwhile, alien tech, like the scavenger gun, needs to be replenished by these crystals. From here on out, you always need to determine just which weapon makes the most sense to use, be it because of ammunition limitations or due to the type of enemy. Anywho, crisis number 2 averted. The ship is in shit condition and we don't know where we are. Time to gather some intel. Preparing for an away mission is always the same in Elite Force. You exit the briefing room, talk to your colleagues about what has happened or what is about to happen, and then you go to the armory, pick up your weapons, and maybe test some out on the holodeck. Alternatively, you can also shoot your colleagues, although this will either end with you getting gunned down by security, or you will collapse as if you want to say, "My God, what have I done?" After gearing up, you beam onto a strange, abandoned-looking ship to gather some information. This mission quickly goes belly side up as the butterflies of doom attack you and your teammates. Mind you, there are two separate teams here. Your team and that of Foster, the highest ranking member of the Hazard team. More on him later. Your team consists of Shell, who I think might have actually made an appearance in the actual show, and what's-her-face, Telsia. She disappears halfway through the mission because of some bizarre floor-covering energy field, and Shell gets left behind due to a very inconvenient door switch. Oh, but not before glitching out on me during recording. The motherfucker didn't feel like following me. I had to head back and get him manually. Okay, after losing both Telsia and Chell, we encounter Foster, whose team has also been severely decimated. Together, we fight our way to the leader of the Butterflies. Quick diatribe. I love this ship's design. The idea that everything in here is organic gives it such a chill vibe. Hell, even the alien weapon you find on the ship is organic. It is breathing in your hand. That is also the main reason why this used to be my favorite weapon in the game, when I was a kid. I really love this visual design to bits. The aliens are also pretty cool. At some point, my big brother let me play on his computer, and I remember encountering this specific enemy, thinking it was the leader because I had already seen the end cutscene earlier when my brother had cleared the stage. But nope, turns out that's just some rando. Got my ass handed to me. Brilliant. Also, there's this.
Hey Shell, ich springe jetzt. Fangen Sie mich.
Check it out. This bizarre delivery of the German dub became a running gag with me and my big brother.
Hey Erik, ich springe jetzt. Fang mich.
Anyway, the leader. Yeah, so the leader tells me and Foster that all of this was one huge misunderstanding. They were only trying to communicate with us. Communicating the way that every cat does by clawing at you. Cool. But what about our teammates, and what about all the butterfly people that were slaughtered? Both are in stasis. So we get some information about this part of space from the Etherians, and that's what they are called, and then we retrieve our teammates. Back on Voyager, we get a debriefing of sorts. You talk to your colleagues for a bit, gear up for the next mission, and then you make your way to the hangar to prepare Tom Paris's personal space race shuttle, the Delta Flyer, as opposed to just beaming us into our next mission. This time we get to retrieve some energy thingamajigs from the scavengers that attacked Voyager earlier. This ship, for lack of a better word, consists of a whole bunch of other ships attached to one another, as if a bored 10-year-old with way too much Lego got creative. The most pronounced parts you can see on the outside are a bird of prey and a Constitution-class ship, aka the original Enterprise. You are tasked with infiltrating the Klingon part to get the energy thingies back. In theory, you are supposed to sneak, but at a certain point you can also start blasting. Just as a reminder, the less you blast, the less ammo you will waste. And there are a whole lot of sleeping Klingons on this part of the ship. It's almost kind of ironic that you don't give these goobers what they really desire, a death in a fight. After you safe spammed your way through this section, you enter another alien part of the station. There, you get to witness a tense meeting between the Klingons and some other race that I do not recognize. I remember that my brother had left the game running during a family celebration at our house, and I had snuck into his room and tried to continue playing this exact stage, but fucked it up, and I think I may even have overwritten his save file. Suffice it to say, he was mad. After the meeting disperses, you get to collect your last sample of Isidesium. That's what the energy thingamajig is called. Just to then be told that you need to go back for a colleague of yours, Odell, and get his Isidesium too. Isidesium? This is a good place as any to talk about optional team member deaths. In the butterfly ship, your hands were tied. You had to stand aside and watch as all of your teammates were taken out one by one. Moving forward, you get to try and rescue your teammates if you move fast enough, I think. There are 2 cutscenes with Odell, one where he is dead and one where he is still alive and tells you what happened. I believe that it depends on how fast you make your way through the level. Why do I think that? Well, because in the next chapter, after the scavenger ship, we get to try and save Foster. Spoilers. And in that one, it is your speed that determines his survival. Granted, there are also moments, like the one during the training mission, where your ability of fighting off enemies determines your teammate's survival. There are also 3 options to an outcome during battle if specific teammate NPCs are involved. They make it through unscathed, they get injured and have to be beamed out, or they die and also have to be beamed back. Losses will quite often be talked about in the post-mission dialogue. Anywho, you find Odell and then shoot the ever-loving fuck out of the bastards that almost put him in the morgue. Then you find his isodesium, but not before your teammate and maybe love interest Telsia gets kidnapped by some dudes in Kirk-era Mirror Universe uniforms. Now you have to sneak about and find Telsia and her isodesium. Fun fact, prior to the recording of this footage, I always just shot up the place with the Mirror Universe Starfleet people, unaware of how to sneak my way past most of them. There is a door that opens automatically, but with some delay. That one you can use to lure 2 guys away from a table, so that you can then progress without shooting a single shot. Anyhow, after that, I must have screwed up again, because I ended up running into the next cutscene while having triggered combat. In the next cutscene, you dress up to fit in with the Mirror Universe crew. Just as a side note, the Mirror Universe in Star Trek refers to a world where Starfleet is an imperial, evil, xenophobic, murderous organization, or basically the most likely outcome if the USA actually got their hands on deep space traveling technology, or Russia, or China, or North Korea. Same difference really. So yeah, you knock out some doctor who is trying to interrogate Telsia, and then you wake her up. The 2 of you then do the good old prisoner guard routine, which works up until it doesn't. Well, it works good enough to get Telsia out. You still have something else to do, namely clear a boss fight. A very poorly designed but well-intentioned boss fight. There is this species of hunter aliens called the Hirogen, and you are being challenged by one of them, just as you are about to make your way back to the rendezvous point. He got his Gatling-type blaster rifle that shoots rounds at you with frightening speed, but if you just run underneath the grates that he is standing on while firing, and wait for him to pause and then shoot at him with a sniper rifle, you just kinda defeat him. It's a wash, rinse and repeat type of process. He will be down in no time. A bad excuse for a boss fight. Doesn't matter though, as you get his gun out of this tedious ordeal. Then you just shoot up the Klingon park of the station and make your way back to the rest of the team. So you got your isodesium and you just got attacked by some Borg beaming in who grab your isodesium and kidnap your team leader. Shit. Once you get back to the ship, Tuvok also thinks that was shit, but asks you why you didn't act differently in that exact moment. I don't know, pointy-eared Dexter, maybe because it was a cutscene? Bruh. Okay, never mind that. Now we get to go on a Borg cube. For real this time. After the first few encounters with some bizarrely armed drones, we encounter Foster. He's not a goner, at least not yet, if you know what to do, and do it fast enough, you can get him out of there and have him beamed to sickbay for a de-assimilation. If not, well, we get there. So, you make your way deeper into the cube and have yet again a few more optional team-saving scenarios. Take 'em or leave 'em. Then, we get to a segment where either an assimilated Foster or a possessed 7 of 9 tries to strike a deal with you and your team that involves getting rid of a species 8472 infestation on the Borg cube. If you've seen the Voyager episode Scorpion, then you should know where this is going. I do like the section that follows this cutscene quite a lot. There are dismembered Borg drones everywhere and some sort of biological residue. Species 8472 is not really worth my spit, to be honest. They swarm you and are sometimes AS instead of AI, if you catch my drift. You defeat them, and surprise, 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 the Borg don't follow up on their deal. So now you have to gun down a whole bunch more Borg, and depending on what you did at the start of the mission, maybe Foster too. Mind you, even if you save Foster, he will not rejoin your team for the rest of the game. You get the Isidesium and get the fuck out of there. During my big brother's playthrough, he didn't manage to save Foster and had to put him down. That made me feel odd. I had already seen the odd character dying in Star Trek, but rarely was it an important one. I had yet to watch Star Trek 2 for starters. It felt extra odd because, in a way, you lost Foster twice. After you get the Isidesium back and beam back to Voyager, your teammates will be accordingly saddened or somewhat happy that you managed to save or lose Foster. Hey, how about you get a motherfucking torpedo launcher? A portable one. Yeah, this is, the most mind-bendingly stupid thing to ever have been put in this game. A torpedo. You know, the thing that can rip holes into the hull of a spaceship. Yeah, just blast that thing all around the holodeck. What's the worst that can happen? Stovagor. More like Stow no more. Got him. Jesus. That is so idiotically amazing. Speaking of idiot, Telsia is flirting with you in the mess hall when Neelix does what Neelix does best, cock blocking. And, as if that wasn't enough, now there is an unknown hostile ship on an interception course with Voyager, clearly with the intention of tearing everyone a new one. Our ship's weapon systems are still offline. It is therefore the Hazard team's task to take a shuttle to what amounts to a big-ass space cannon and use said cannon to destroy, or at the very least, incapacitate the attacking ship. We are on the ship, and after some of the most excruciatingly long-winded elevator waiting sections, that is, sections where you wait for your apparently geriatric teammates to enter the fucking elevator. Oh no, take your fucking time. It's not like we're in a hurry to save Voyager or something. Anyhow, after all that, the ship awakens, and now we gotta blast some robot ass. Holy fucking shit, that cyberduck looking thing is huge. How will I ever... Oh yeah, I got a torpedo launcher. These robot enemies aren't too bad, as there are quite a few plasma tubes that you can blast open to eliminate a whole bunch of them in one swoop. So you may or may not lose a team member and finally make your way to the big-ass space cannon loading chamber. You load the projectile and wham! Mega space cannon bitch slap those roaches like my name was a pimp named Slickback. Phew, Time to get back to Voyager to survive the fucking apocalypse. We fight our way through Voyager, which is being overrun by those bug creatures called the Harvesters. A dead crewman here, a cracked open wall there, and we got ourselves a pretty fucked up looking Voyager. Look at this goofy panicked run though. Finally, we managed to fend off that plague, and after a collection of cutscenes, the decision is made to use the ship that just attacked us to infiltrate the main boss dungeon. I mean the Forge. The ship will automatically be retrieved, and from there on out, we'll fight our way through the Forge and deactivate the field that is keeping us here. So, yet again, it's time to lock and load. And a lock and a load we did. After a bit of platforming and platform expanding, we enter the final dungeon. I mean, the Forge. We do a whole lot more shooting, and I think now is as good a time as any to bring up the energy weapon elephant in the room. In theory, my character would be carrying a whole lot of weapons all at once without having so much as a backpack. The latest weapon we acquired was this high-tech version of a welder, which looks and fires badass bolts of lightning Emperor style. How do we carry all of these weapons that we either got issued or found randomly on our missions? Via transporter buffer, of course. The transporter in Star Trek keeps the blueprint of what is transported in its internal database, which was sometimes used in the show to either have a second version of a character come into existence, fuse two characters together, make a character older or younger, or to retrieve a character who had been in there for centuries, as was the case with Scotty in Star Trek The Next Generation. Now, instead of using the ship's internal transporter, imagine having a portable version of the transporter and its database that was fed with entries for said weapons. Voila! That's how you can carry an armory worth of guns with you at all time. Every time you holster a weapon, it gets reduced into its atomic blueprint, and every time you unholster a weapon, said blueprint is accessed and turned into matter. With that out of the way, we also get to see the Harvester and their variations, as well as how they are being bred.
He was bred the whole time!
Wrong bred. And then we get the dumbest thing a video game can do, which is character death by cutscene.
Damn it! I can't get off a good shot!
Beastman bites the dust. After that, we unite with the rest of the team, which includes the motherfucking captain of the ship. The Hazard team exists to make sure that no high-ranking officers have to risk their lives on an away mission. But whatever, high ranks are more like a suggestion anyway. Just ask Harry Kim. So, we split up again and deactivate the Forge's big-ass field of evil. We get a cutscene of the butterfly ship making a run for it, with a suspicious ball of light parting from it as well. We are ready to leave. Except the big bad final boss is taunting us with the prospect of recovering and planning an invasion of Federation space at some point in the future. Monroe is not gonna take that, and so he disobeys orders and makes his way to a cinematic slow-moving elevator that leads directly to the final boss, as well as a mega charging station which charges every weapon, minus the phaser, to 99 points. Tuvok calls him by a cum badge, but Monroe doesn't answer.
Ensign Monroe. Ensign Monroe, acknowledge. Mr. Monroe, you are violating direct orders.
Don't say anything now if you have a small penis, Ensign Monroe. You come face to face with the gigantic space shrimp spider, which is hiding behind a force field, taunting you. After surviving wave after wave of harvesters, the butterfly people show up and destroy the harvester teleport system and then leave. This enrages the final boss, called the Wars Off.
Silence! The sea will be launched. You shall be destroyed.
That's one hell of a line for the bedroom. I remember my big brother initially not managing to beat this final boss. Now I am unsure if he had set the difficulty to high or if it was just his lack of experience with video games in general. Quick reminder yet again, my big brother uses computers first and foremost for making music. Whatever the case, now you have to bust a lot of energy caps in this giant space shrimp's ass. Until he flops to the side like he just lost the hot dog eating contest. He warns you that he will be back. You sneer back at him right before you get beamed out, just in time for the whole place to collapse. You get beamed onto the bridge. Why? Why not the fucking sickbay? I was involved in a fight. The fuck am I going to do on the bloody bridge? Bleed to death while celebrating her fucking Ra? Eventually, after some sick-ass cutscenes of Voyager shooting the shit out of the Forge, Monroe is beamed to sickbay. Why didn't you do that? Fuck it. Last but not least, we get a celebratory scene of all the main characters hanging out in the mess hall, which then ends like a fucking sitcom. For some reason.
Why, Tuvok, is that a bit of pride I detect?
Surely, Captain. There is no cause to insult me.
Odd ending aside, the final collection of levels is actually very satisfying. The Forge feels quite large, and despite the Harvesters not being too memorable when it comes to its AI, they have a very memorable design. The Warsaw himself is just pure iconic final boss material, huge and imposing, arrogant. Blasting the everlasting shit out of him is never not fun. And that was Star Trek Voyager Elite Force. Cis main campaign. But wait, there's more. Since this game is somewhat connected to Quake 3, Elite Force also has a multiplayer. It's fun and also addicting. Okay, so the main issue I encountered with this aspect of the game was simply not having any way of playing the multiplayer with other players. NPCs, not a problem. But no servers were running for this 26-year-old game. Go figure. Maybe they're like fan servers that I don't know about. Whatever. I remember watching my big brother play local multiplayer matches against NPCs constantly, and always thinking, wow, this sure looks confusing and overstimulating. It does from the outside, but honestly, it looks worse than it is. You get a buttload of models to choose from for your character. I went with Sexy Away Mission 7 of 9, as opposed to platonic stay in her quarters and read a good book 7 of 9. We get into some of these thus far unseen characters in a second with the last game mode. We also got a lot of really cool multiplayer arenas. You got Borg themed ones, some set on space stations, and for this GOG.com release quite a few fan-made maps. It's neat. Once again, actual multiplayer with people might take some planning, but the NPC-based version is still a lot of fun regardless. Especially if you get to blow your slowpoke teammates to Kingdom Come who all of the sudden learned the skill of quickly moving from one point to the next, which includes boarding elevators at a quick pace. Get fucked, beastmen. No, video games don't make you aggressive. Video games release your aggression in a healthy way. Eat that, Neelix! Anywho, welcome to the last and honestly most impressive part of Star Trek Voyager Elite Force. Of the Star Trek Voyager Elite Force package. Well, the whole package. If you owned the whole package. Virtual Voyager, which in theory was just an expansion pack, but I'll put just in brackets, because holy shit, that is a lot of content for one expansion. You get to explore a huge part of Voyager on your own, initially only armed with a tricorder, but slowly you collect more and more weapons, as well as other things. What things? Well, let's go through some of the notable examples, shall we? The holodeck, yes, the same holodeck that you could test your weapons out on, and that serves as the backdrop to the multiplayer mode. In the holodeck, you can choose between 4 different programs. Tranquil Garden, in which, as is often the case in Star Trek, the security protocols fail. Once you shoot the gardener, he will transform into one of the enemy NPCs, and a whole bunch of them will follow once you get rid of the transformed gardener. Dispose of all of them, and voila, you're done. Firing range. I feel like you don't need this one explained to you. Klingon compound. Infiltrate a Klingon base and retrieve a datapad. It's fun, and I think that maybe you're supposed to do this stealthily, but I couldn't be asked to tackle it as such. And last but not least, a Captain Proton adventure based on the Flash Gordon persiflage of the same name from Star Trek Voyager itself. Normally played by Tom Paris and Harry Kim, in this case you take on the role of Proton as you fight your way through the lair of the evil Chaotica to save your Scream Queen secretary, Constance Goodhart. It's a whole lot of campy fun. Using the holodeck is on your agenda, by the way. 7 of 9 is the first NPC you interact with on the Virtual Voyager, and she tells you that you've basically been ordered to relax, and so you do just that. You go to the computer core to retrieve access codes, with which you can then access the transporter room, which grants you access to Deck 16. There, you find a bored crew member who was so bored, in fact, that he made his own video game by the name of Borg Slayer. You can play this game inside a game, inside this game, you know. You learn about his boring-ass life through his log entries. Voyager-era Star Trek laptops can be found all around the ship, and all of which hold some true log entries. Some entries are funny, while others are just POV retellings of the main campaign. After you leave Deck 16, you can now prepare the Delta Flyer for liftoff, which is also kind of neat. You might have come across some weapons which were not stored in the armory. You can collect all of them by visiting different decks and snoopingish around as usual. The same applies to the Hazard Team action figures. You can even find Beastman in the sickbay morgue. But he is alive, and he does this. Sure. You can take a look at every main character's quarter. I remember that at some point while playing this expansion, my brother remarked, as he was looking around in Tuvok's quarter, that it would be kind of funny, if not a bit stupid, if you entered Tuvok's bathroom and Tuvok was just sitting there naked in the tub. To be fair, the game doesn't go that far. But you do get to surprise Chang and Jiro, I think, as they are holding hands in a maintenance area. Lol. Also, if you were bored, you can always cause a red alert. In essence, Virtual Voyager adds a few more hours of less action-oriented gameplay to the whole package that is Star Trek Voyager Elite Force. And that was my review. Star Trek Voyager Elite Force has aged okay. The actual single-player experience works just fine most of the time, and your teammates are only sometimes in the way. The in-game cutscenes are unintentionally hilarious, while the pre-rendered ones actually got some vintage low-res style to them. The multiplayer is of the era, but in a very fun way. Even if you are only playing with bots, you can easily end up losing a few hours without noticing it. The Virtual Voyager is honestly quite impressive for what it is, and despite some of the graphics, especially character models, looking a bit too blocky, the ship itself looks really good, and if you're a fan of the show, you will love this expansion, which was made with a lot of love in turn. I personally hold a lot of nostalgia for this game, but I am also thoroughly aware of its shortcomings. Every now and again, I open up GOG Galaxy just to give this brave little game another spin. It's easy to get into and not too long to finish. Perfect for a quick nostalgic ride. With that being said, thank you for watching. Oh, and also, fuck you Nilix for cockblocking me!
Well, looks like I'm not the only one on this ship who knows what the inside of the brig looks like. Don't those beds hurt your back? Look, the captain's mad now, but she'll give you another chance. Just don't screw up again.
And the Oscar nominees for the best reenactment of clunky early 2000s motion capture in video games are...
Hey Erik, ich springe jetzt. Fang mich!